All right, 5:31, we'll call this meeting to order. We got minutes out there. I would entertain a motion. I did provide one correction to Nikki, and it was under the new business for preparing with the joint council meeting, where it ends the sentence with volunteer. I think it was supposed to read volunteer coordinator. So that was the one change I noticed.
Don't move, we approve them. Yeah.
Okay. All right, first from Alan, second from Shelley. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Unanimous approval, 3 continues, nice work. And no public for public comment. And so we roll on to new business, and we're gonna get an update on the Nisqually partnership.
Do you want to take it for me, Nikki, as I kind of chat through? I think we will manage that hopefully, and people can follow along here.
Who did this presentation?
I did.
It's very
So-
nice. I looked through it, when you emailed it to me. So,
Good. I'm glad you felt that way because it was, so the project's been going on for a little while
oh, yeah.
now. We've had a couple delays. The Parks Commission for the Nisqually Tribe has a new commission member, and I believe it's the president's seat. I have yet to meet them, but I wanted to put together a presentation for them to really kind of track the progress of the project and really look at an update of where we are currently and to finish the project as well. Look at that. So the theme and objective have really been kind of how we've kept the focus of bringing awareness to the Nisqually tribe within our community, recognizing the past, present, and future of the tribe within several interpretive elements along a 1-mile trail. The focus among those interpretive elements also being to highlight the tribe's connection to the Oak Prairie, which is a really special landscape in our community, and to tell the Chief Leshai story and legacy. The Fort Slocum Park, this is just a map of where it's located in the community. Within the Oak Brook neighborhood, it's just over, I believe, 350 acres. Mary always knew the number better than I did, but within the park itself, it follows kind of the southeastern portion of the park along Angle Lane and Walhalla Lake. The red outline is when we originally started the project, we thought the trail might go around the outside of Walhalla Lake Trail, but in discussing that with the tribe, there might have been some conflicts with our current Discovery Trail signs. So we've really kind of focused on the experience as highlighted in red below. It's about a mile, most of which is paved, which will be accessible to reach these interpretive elements. The area kind of abutting the large forested area on the south portion of that map is the unpaved portion of the trail, and there's several stops really kind of highlighting the native plants within the park and for the trail along that portion. Oh, can you go back really quick? So we've worked with some consultants to develop these interpretive kiosks. We really want the look and feel to feel special and relevant to the tribe and the story that we're telling. So this wooden kiosk with a bent metal panel has 2 kind of different logos reminiscent of some of the tribe's logo. So the one on the right is like a fishnet, reminiscent of the fishnet in their fish logo, and then the water and the grass on the secondary.
Wood,
So the plinth, like that base,
the monument
is
part.
intended to be wood. We also picked up kind of cues of the 2 existing kiosks, one at the restroom on Angle Lane and one at the dog park. Some of the materials have incorporated kind of wood and metal, so we want it to really feel cohesive with those 2 kiosks as well, which supported the design development of that. So overall, we've added and subtracted, but currently to date, there are 8 interpretive exhibits along the trail that we are developing. The sub 5, between 5 and 6, those little stars, it's even kind of little sub plant ID markers along that trail to support all the interpretive elements. So stop 1 is at the plaza restroom. It's really what we're considering the welcome kiosk, because there's a large gathering space and the parking and the restroom to accommodate accessibility. And then you'll travel kind of southeast down Angle Lane. Site 2 is the Coast Salish Bully Dogs. Site 3 will highlight the Prairie and Camas, and that's really kind of around a natural little blooming area of Camas at the park. Site 4 is the South welcome kiosk. That's also the existing concrete kiosk by the dog park. And then moving into the prairie area, the open landscape, we're calling it Nature's Gifts, which is the native plant tour along through the prairie. There are several plants that we'll highlight, and then it terminates at the paved Wahop Lake Trail at Site 6, which will be Nisqually Strong. Traveling back out, up the Wahop Lake Trail and back out towards past the H Barn. Really kind of adjacent to the Tensler Log is Nisqually Pride. And then back to where we started, there is the last stop, which will be featuring the Chief Flesh Ice Story. So here's just a picture to kind of familiarize you with each of the sites. This is the welcome kiosk. We just completed, I'll talk about it. I think at Site 4, I have some pictures of on the bottom of the kiosk, mosaic basket weave tile that we hosted at the pavilion. It was really wonderful activity. And then we're currently working through the vertical part. We'll have a Camas mosaic that we're working with the tribe for them to host another workshop.
Explain the existing sign and how it's made up with our stuff on one side.
So yeah, these 2 signs are double-sided. So we've got the Fort Steilacoom park map that was developed during the Angle Lane development at the park. We will need to update that because the Nisqually Trail, we just have the update of, the alignment for that. So we'll need to update that so that it reflects the current trail. And then on the back side, there is the Nisqually Fish logo. And we'll have the interpretive panel information on the back of this, of both of those concrete kiosks.
Yes, question. Is it also going to be in any other language? So
Shutsi, yes. Yeah, they have 2 language experts, one outside their tribe, that there are many dialects within its Shutsi is kind of the parent language of Coast Salish tribes. And then my understanding is this is Southern Lushootseed that would have been spoken by the Nisqually people. So there's very specific font spacing and syntax that different from the Puyallup tribe and the Nisqually tribe, that we work really closely to make sure that it's correct with their language folks. And we've hoped the language is incorporated in the text. We've talked about hopefully supporting like a QR code that you could hear the translation of that, because I think that's really helpful to understand how it sounds and how to properly pronounce it. The tribe didn't currently have some the technical support maybe for the QR, whoever hosts the information, that information is kept. We're just working through the logistics of that. But I think even on future updates or future partnerships, that's something that I think would be a meaningful experience that we could consider as well. Mary had at that time offered to host that information on the city's website. We would like to support that if we could. Oh, I did have on here. So this is a rendering, but the tile workshop, I think I have it on the slide 4. We've completed the artist is putting together the finalization of, precisely how all those tiles go together. It's on like a big sheet that she'll then come install on the kiosk. And then this is not entirely accurate because the fish doesn't have red, it's just black. So we're trying to kind of incorporate the red, black, and white color into the vertical portion that's shown on the image here, as well as a canvas artwork that the Nisqually tribe has provided from an artist. So here's some pictures of the workshop at the pavilion. It's a really decent turnout, and I hope you all, did you all receive notice that that event was occurring? Okay, great. We'll try to include the same notice for the tribes workshop as well, if we have the opportunity. Also part of site one development, the city is purchasing these wooden kind of open seating benches in the plaza, because there's really no seating in that area currently. That we would like to, I'm not sure exactly if it's metal lettering or carved into the wood, install 8 affirmations that the tribe has provided. I am strong, I'm kind, I'm important. Hopefully the English statement, maybe side by side, and the Lushootseed translation, or maybe front and back, those affirmations on the seating around the plaza. So site 2, the Coach Salish Woolly Dogs, is kind of adjacent to the dog park entry there along the trail. The tribe has provided this graphic that we will also be installing in a metal cutout adjacent to those interpretive kiosk stops, and we'll be telling the story of the Coast Salish Woolly Dog, which was a small dog that the tribe kept because there was no horses or sheep or animals that had fur to develop clothing and blankets. They did have this small dog that the hair would grow kind of like a poodle, and they would shear it and use the textile to weave blankets and clothing, as I understand it. So there's this image is from the Smithsonian, had done some research as well, and it's very interesting bit of history. Dot 3 is the Camas Prairie exhibit at the Blooming Camas site along the south side of the trail. We also are I don't know, I must not have had it on here. There's the metal cutouts for the dog. We're hoping to develop 2 women metal cutouts harvesting camas to kind of highlight that activity that the tribe engaged in, and as a feature in the landscape. Here's the inspiration behind that artistic portion of the metal cutout. It will be unique to the tribe. This is elsewhere in the state. And then the little canvas graphic on the bottom right is also the support for the tile work that's occurring on the kiosk. Okay, for the South Welcome kiosk, we anticipate the same tile installations are happening on both of these. And the thought initially at this point is that there'll be like a wayfinding map for folks to understand really the bigger picture of whether, if they wanted to walk the trail, what are the exhibits that they could look for along the way, and kind of a map that might tell a little more information, engage folks in the exhibit. This is the portion of the tile that the tribe is supporting on the kiosks. Nature's Gifts, the native plant tour. So there'll be a kiosk kind of overlooking the prairie, just adjacent to the dog park parking area.
You know, just a comment that some of that lower trail there, that 5 to 6, some of that could be ADA.
We're hoping, yeah, we
could do a section of it.
maintain gravel, or we're considering paving alternatives to put into the design, that if we keep it close to this parking area, that is the hope, that all of these features would be accessible.
Yeah, it's good. Great.
How about plants in that area? Have you started the restoration of the actual plants yet, or?
The plants, I think I have a list of the plants that we hope to highlight, some of which, because every time I go out, I look really hard for each of these plants. The checkered lily, I have not
Tough
witnessed
one to get.
myself
I've been
at
trying
this
for
part.
5
I've
years on
witnessed
that
it.
one.
I was really excited. I did see it at the Old Settler Cemetery, and so I have a bunch of pictures that we could use on this.
The things like camas and lupin, the ones that are common are easy to get going but it takes years. I just wondered if you had started on that.
we are trying to support the plants that the tribe has chosen to highlight on the trail. So, do you want to move to the next? So the 4 plants that they've chosen to highlight on this portion are nettles, the checkered lily, licorice fern, and the oak tree. I think surprisingly enough, licorice fern is normally in the symbiotic plant in big leaf maple canopies, but I think there's a patch of it on the ground next to the trail. I've sent it to the Tahoma Peak as a nonprofit organization supporting the text to it's kind of written in the voice of the plant, and it will include some interpretive information of how the tribe, use the plants for medicinal purposes. They thought that there was a native patch there, and then nettles. I did see actually a patch really close to the lake because I know those are in more
They take
moist
a lot of
areas.
Yeah.
They take a lot of water, but I was like, oh my gosh, Mary, look at something about the nettles.
Kids will love those.
Trail, but let's let them grow up so that we can put our sign here and people could engage with that interpretive exhibit. So
Kind of an interesting set of plants they've selected out there because they're not atypical for our oak savanna prairie, really.
yeah, we talked through kind of what was there, and we will hope to support, if we need to establish a small little patch that helps support these installations, we're, I think, going to make our best effort. The other plants that were included in that list, though, were the Douglas fir, because I think that's a really important plant that encroaches on oak prairies. It's in the park. It's our state tree. We have the Tensor log. So the thought being that at this point, we're going to locate that near the Tensor log because that's a pretty magnificent tree slice that can help tell that story as well. The Squally Strong at the lake. We've got, it overlooks the lake. We do have some artwork. It's really to tell the tribe's story of today, the cultural events they participate in, and current support in our community for the restoration efforts that they engage in throughout the South Puget Sound.
Like it's 6, just a question like, are you gonna have like an arrow that makes sure they go that way? Like I know and look there and I would know how to walk the trail, but if
There
you've
will be
never
a
done.
kiosk.
Okay.
So there will be a kiosk there, that those 2 kiosks that we have, the different metal cutouts. And then I don't have it on here, but we've talked about the tribe through the development of the state park has a metal bench standard that they've cut out the back with artwork. We do have an approved hurdle artwork for a bench also for folks to sit, take a pause, and enjoy the view of the lake adjacent to that as well. So hopefully that will be
Guys.
exactly,
Right, okay,
exactly.
yeah.
That's the hope. There's also a part, through that nature element trail, it's like there's all these little trail
Right,
skirts that people
yeah.
go running on or dog walking. There'll be some wayfinding to support,
Yeah,
go
that's
right,
great.
go left,
Yeah,
go
right.
straight. You're on the right path. Site 7, so this is adjacent to the Tensor log, is the Nisqually Pride kiosk, and there is this special artwork that was approved by the Parks Commission to support the tribe story. So that artwork will be featured on the kiosk panel, and then we'll have some additional narrative that site. This is the Tensor log. So this is where I spoke about those plant ID markers. They're a little bit smaller. I should have included a little picture, but it's just a small wooden marker with about a 12 by 12 panel that will tell the interpretive information about the Douglas fir at that site. And then the last stop on the trail is currently the tribe has had, this is the most important story to tell, and so there's been some review of many folks in the tribe to understand this is the approved text and narrative to tell Chief Lushai's story, Plymouth, and the Medicine Creek Treaty history from the tribe's perspective. So we've been trying to navigate allowing that timeline of review of the text to occur within the scope of this project, but it may be that that's such an important story to tell. It's included, the panels are included, or or are not included in this site, but we've identified this is a great area to feature that story. And that would be a phase 2 installation. At this point, we're including it on kind of a 3-panel, 2 flashlight story, the Medicine Creek tree, and Waymo, his brother, also has some narrative. This is a mural they've painted in one of their tribal facilities. It's not a lot of artwork, so we're also working with the tribe to allow them to approve, the artwork that's telling these stories from their voice. And the timeline right now is we're at the 90% set to develop all the interpretive information on these panels. The tribe has quite a few commitments in the summer, so we've just been in a little bit of a pause. They have Canoe Journey and 4th of July, and in the fall, we're hoping that they'll review and approve that material so that we can put the project out to bid in the late fall and construct it in this winter.
So is the city actually doing the panels, or are you hiring a company to do those panels for your signs?
We have hired a few folks. So the panels, the kiosks have structural engineer because those have a building permit associated with them. We had a different folks that have been supporting kind of the project up until this date, and we have Somis is our new design team that's really piecing together. There's an illustrator and a language person that are supporting basically some nature illustrations to fill the gap of the storytelling. If we don't have a photograph or artwork from the tribe, how can we support telling the story? So kind of nature, botanical illustrations, watercolors. They have quite a bit of experience in our
It's a
community.
complicated project because
It's
we did
really
sticks out the wildlife
Yeah, it's
area. I
hard
had to hire
to-
someone.
Yeah,
Layering and all of that you have to do when you send it.
it's like the
be
text is its own
manufactured.
special. It needs to
Yeah.
be accessible and in a certain language, typically under an 8th grade reading level, but you want, an inspiring storytelling to engage people. The artwork from the tribe, getting that to a printable format. The graphics will all be designed from this firm so that a contractor can then go fabricate the sign and install it. So that's where we're hoping to get to. And it's the same material, it's the same kind of sign like that we have out there now on the kiosk site 1 and 4. Those are HPL panel that has a graffiti coating so that it's maintainable for the setting.
We go back to the Douglas for a minute. So it's not common to ever say a tree was born. We'd say it was sprouted. We changed that to sprouted.
Okay.
Born. And then it didn't come from that location. It came from an old growth forest. That was prairie. So we've been talking about prairie and all the plants at the Nisqually are eating there. So to have it there, I've already run into 2 people talking about this tree came from here. It used to look like that here, and they wanted it all. It's not a history at all.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, that came from, I don't know.
I thought it was
Came from
Packwood.
Packwood.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Packwood,
understand the history of that. Total transparency. This is not at all related to the Nisqually tribe. So I've had a creative exercise on how do I sensitively incorporate
I would
the,
just say it's
storytelling.
maybe adjacent to the prairie or something, because it could have been, it would be adjacent to a prairie habitat. It could be.
that,
It
so,
wasn't there.
yeah, at this point, I can't navigate with the tribe funding the signage of the history of the Tensor log,
Right.
the history of all of that, because it's unrelated to
Right.
telling the Nisqually story.
I'm just not saying you don't have to say Tinsler log or it was, you did say it was cut, but just so people don't get the impression that that whole lake area was at one time an old growth forest. That's what.
We do have, so, there is some information on the site 5 and the Camas site to say, you know, oak prairies were once prevalent in our area, only 3% remain. It's an endangered native habitat. They were managed by the tribe through stewardship of harvesting the plants, grazing animals, and burning the grasses to outcompete those shrubs and trees. So I think it's a really great education piece for the public also to understand that. And we now manage the prairie through mowing. I mean, it's not a burning exercise, but it's not just a static landscape that is self-sustaining. So
I know it's hard to integrate the prairie with this.
There were two little signs in with the Tinsler blog at the library that I believe we have, and it tells the story of where that came from.
Would that be something that retained?
You could probably talk about doing something like that separately, just to tell that story. Their old signage, you know.
Yeah.
yeah, we want to make it accessible so folks can read it.
Can you change to sprouted?
This isn't gonna be the narrative. I didn't even write this text, so, we're still gonna have, you know, a development of the text that is appropriate.
It's a
and-
perfect QR code place too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Scan
that's a
it, you
good
know, and it
point.
goes to
Because that's
Wikipedia about a Douglas
like-
fir, where it belongs, where it came
Great,
from.
that's a great
you
suggestion.
know.
Because the log now it's a different experience, and so how do you put the sign?
It has a history of its own.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to maintain the integrity of the work that's, you know, been involved in covering it and keeping it, you know, as pristine as we can throughout the outdoor experience. Is there any other?
I just have one comment, and it's signs 1 and 8. And I know it's a pictograph, and so, but to me, having a little bit of separation between 1 and 8, because if you're coming there to start the trail and you start at the finish, feels a little anticlimactic, right? And so I don't know if it's across the street, because we've got that other big sign there by the logs and where the asphalt starts, and it's kind of across the street, but some sort of separation between the two, I think would be good. That's the commentary. You guys got to work that out or figure out how that all plays out.
Of
but-
course, I don't know how familiar you are, like your mental memory, but there's like a little bump out at the end of the
Okay.
plaza adjacent from the existing kiosk.
Yeah.
We talked about facing it there.
Okay.
It's really sensitive because there's also a cemetery right there, and so it's a sensitive topic to face the cemetery or have proximity to the cemetery. We've talked about putting it in many different spots, but elsewhere along the same trail, but they felt the visibility and the prominence of that was not as many people could see it. So they felt that this open gathering space.
Well, the sign doesn't say this is the end of the trail.
Yeah, no, and that's
It's a
true. And
storytelling.
you'll never, everyone's coming from different areas. And
Of
so
course.
how someone arrives on the site is
I think that's,
completely different. And so
yeah,
you're always going to get somebody that hits the last sign first anyway. So,
So they know
they're not gonna have numbers, I think. I mean, I don't know because we haven't developed the final map for site 4. We're still working through the logistics of that. I do anticipate that there will be welcome language on sites 1 and 4 because folks, that's where people park, and so that's very likely where they might be starting to look at those 2 kiosks. There was talk at one point about a welcome figure. The tribe has carved welcome figures at their facility as well as one in development for the state park. And so would that be some artwork that was appropriate to support both the Chief Leshai exhibit and the welcoming nature of that being the beginning of the trail? We don't have funding to support that development with this grant project, but we are talking about all those things as well for future phase. It's just good to consider if we are gonna allocate an area for something on a plan or in this exercise, let's consider, the experience. So we definitely appreciate your feedback and everyone's feedback as we develop those locations.
It's great. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, any other discussion on the Nisqually partnership?
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we're rolling on to a legacy plan update. It sounds like that's coming from David.
Yes. Greetings, everybody. I'm Lavi, Parks Capital Project Manager, also working on the legacy plan. Excited about the website that we have so far. That's just a good, okay, good placeholder for tracking key dates and just kind of letting people know about what's going on with the legacy plan. Excited to share that, engagement is well underway. I've been at close to 10 different events at various neighborhood associations, city events, and more recently presented to the Planning Commission as well, just kind of the general outline of what is the legacy plan, what's expected, why we're doing it, so that they're kind of on board and assign a liaison. Really want to work towards getting a legacy plan task force set up so that we can really start diving into processing some of the engagement and some of the conversation that I've been having with folks throughout these various events, to shape kind of the outline of what we're hoping to get and really get to a strong draft by the end of this year. I think at this point, there's a few upcoming events that are just kind of in the works more recently or coming up. I'll send an invite, but it's actually this Thursday hosting just kind of a general open house so that more and more people can learn about it. On July 24th from 4 to 6, I'll be at the Lakewood Library sharing kind of the road show that I have, the presentation boards and a short presentation, and just kind of lets more and more people feel connected to the process. And then there will be other opportunities. August 5th, that's a typical national night out. Still figuring out where exactly I'll be. I know last year I was at Oak Brook just because there was a lot of opportunities for engagement and talking about some of the improvements happening there. And so at this point, haven't found exactly what's the best place for me to be. I'm figuring out where I'm hearing from people and where the gaps are in terms of the legacy plan specifically, so that I can kind of attend a national night out event in a neighborhood that maybe I'm not hearing from as much. So still working that out. Also have an upcoming neighborhood association meeting on August 12th, which is just reaching out to the Telecom neighborhood and then filling them in on the process. I know they have a lot of ideas on how they'd like to improve Harry Todd Park, and also just work with them closely on the upcoming formal ribbon cutting for the pickleball courts that we just wrapped up there. And then one of the last programmed events I have for now, although that's continuing to change, encourage you all, if you have neighborhood associations that are just good for me to drop into, happy to schedule them in and draw by. But August 19th will be one of the last farmers markets that I'll be attending and sharing and kind of connecting people to the process. And ultimately, the goal is getting all of this feedback that I've heard so far, summarizing it, coming back to you all and summarizing that feedback, and then using that information to start sharing a survey that can really specifically ask questions and help prioritize specific improvements by park or by neighborhood, so that we can have a better sense of what people are just interested in prioritizing for their community. So excited about that. I think this process will be very involved, and we'll look forward to putting together that task force group to meet a little bit more frequently. I think that's kind of my next step after I get just past a few of these engagement events. But yeah, as I mentioned, the website, ongoing updates to the website. If there's anything on the website that you think should be changed, let me know. But really, that's a really solid place to stay up to date with the upcoming survey that we'd hope to release. I'll think about how to summarize some of the engagement input that I've been hearing so far on the website, so that folks are just kind of feel like they're in the loop. But that's a good place to see not only the previous 2020 website, but also just kind of staying up to date with those events that I've listed so far. And as I go on and add additional events, I know I want to add a specific pop-up event in the eastern side of Lakewood in the International District. That one, just kind of a key one to do. It was really successful when the 2020 plan was done, and I think it's just a good opportunity to reach out to the business community there and the range of residents that live there that will be able to connect to the improvements happening at Woods Lake Park and just kind of build that momentum that's happening in that side of the city. But yeah, that's general update there. I think I want to work towards a more formal presentation that outlines kind of what I'm hearing so far in the next 2 months. So you'll hear from me shortly.
So how's your task force gonna get put together?
Right
Who's gonna
now,
do that?
I'm doing basically just invitation emails to folks in public health and various school boards and trying to put that together. But I mean, happy to take support. I think Vito at a recent neighborhood association really expressed interest in dropping in, and folks from here from the commission would like to join me on the task force. I'm happy to.
I think we had a couple in it
Yeah, we
last year when it
usually
was
have at least
originally
one,
developed.
one member
Yeah.
represent.
Great. Yeah, and so I mean, mostly if there's suggestions for specific organizations that you think I should integrate into the task force, in addition to the folks we've involved in the previous 2020 plan, let me know. I think some of the typical groups we would probably reach out to are the Bird Alliance, Asia Pacific Cultural Center, some of the various cultural groups that already have a strong relationship with the city, the Parks Department. Folks from the school district, Clover Park School District,
Some Partners for Parks might be a
Partners for
group.
Parks,
Be sure and
definitely.
include somebody from that organization too.
absolutely.
There's some overlap that I'm hoping to integrate, American Lake Park. If anyone's interested, I anticipate the park will be open on or before National Night Out, August 4th. I'm going to be on vacation, so I didn't host a ribbon cutting, a 2-for-1, because that was Mary's wonderful suggestion. I think that would have been a great coordination, because I know folks are excited to see all the improvements and there's good turnout at that site. Wards Lake Park, again, there's not a established neighborhood group in that area, but at this point, I anticipate the park to be open before the end of the year. And there's just so many exciting improvements at that park that I think we can engage some partners. The Tahoma Bird Alliance, I have 2 local bike groups that is a new kind of community activity, and they have quite a big following. So would love to have your support too, if there's a 2-for-1 opportunity for the legacy plan and for those ribbon cutting.
I think the Northern American Lake Improvement Club be invited to the American Lake Park.
Nikki, do you have their contact?
And it is.
For that to Nikki so that we're be sure to include them.
So as we progress with the engagement, if there's opportunities that you all see or events that you all know about that I can plug into, happy to make it work and schedule it in. But as far as the website goes, if folks ask you about the legacy plan, we have this great website structure that it will continue to be added to and just kind of keep people in the loop on next steps. But really the goal overall is to have a strong draft that in the spring we can kind of work through that together and hope to present to council around late spring. I think RCO Recreation and Conservation Office, the main granting agency that supports cities across the state. They have a goal to have a legacy plan approved around May 2026. And I mean, ideally, we would approve it by then, but if they see that there is a lot of progress towards having something formalized, that they'll be kind of willing and flexible to change that as needed. But ultimately, there's a grant cycle starting in 2026 that's just important to
That's key. Very definitely, yeah.
to have those key projects that we want to put in an application for, so.
And would you characterize this one as like a refresh or a full redo?
Because of, this just being, kind of a, I would say it's just kind of a refresh.
Good,
Not
good. No,
really-
that's good, 'cause
We're at a point where.
Yeah.
Cause I,
Top
the
20
last one was
drops
a really
already.
robust effort, and so that was my hope, is that it didn't take a full redo. We could kind of refresh, because we haven't gotten through everything that we kind of wanted to accomplish, where
It was supposed to look
last time we
20 years
had,
ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, the metrics that you guys used last time are wonderful. I refer to that document all the
Good,
time. I
good,
think
good.
it's very clearly organized. I really appreciate the work that was put into that.
To be the compass stuff.
Yeah, the packet score really helps us understand and share with the public why certain projects are prioritized and why certain projects are delivered, and just makes it very clear in conversation. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Anything else on legacy plan?
I want to know what's that picture? Look at that roof and that, where is that? Is that just a stock photo or is that?
No, that's, yeah, that should be Harry Todd, yeah.
There you go.
What's
It's
the,
like a really fresh photo when the playground was replaced.
Please
I
don't
think
go.
You just put in the chips.
Yeah.
Because there's not one displaced there. Exactly.
It does look like rubber surfacing or something,
Really?
so. it's
I mean,
okay.
it's quite pristine, it's beauty.
Mhm.
All right, so now we roll on to a Parks CIP update. Are you pulling that one too?
We're gonna tag team,
All right.
yeah, we're gonna tag team this one.
I will say apologies for not including this in the packet before, but make sure a digital one. Yes, thank you.
My old eyes appreciate the big format printing. Thank you.
You all have the.
I like it on the computer. Zoom in on the parts I want to look at. Or the rest.
We'll run through this list that we have of the various sections. We have a completed project section, we have a active and underway project section, and that'll kind of tie into this CIP project list, but we'll jump in to Port Silicon Park. We talked a little bit about that one. So as of now, that's been completed up until the point where some additional interpretive signage would help to just continue to tell that story for the log. I think we were able to successfully put in the shelter, get it refinished. There's even a company that has volunteered their time to continue to refinish it for the next few years, and just support us in that. But the signs that were there when it was at the library, we still have those on hand. Some more can go up on the log, not just kind of sitting next to the log, but and then there's just a little bit more thinking through exactly what kind of story we want to tell, considering the Nisqually partnership is there, and we want to make sure there's a distinction between the two. And then
Was there gonna be any additional landscape work around the concrete footprint? I mean, just to blend it in so
The
it looked a little
restoration.
more, yeah.
yeah, there was some
gonna be-
talk.
Mary mentioned it a while back, but I,
Yeah, we were thinking through just kind of putting in some topsoil and some seed just to have it blend in a little bit better. Capacity, we haven't really
Okay.
prioritized that, but I think that's still an opportunity. In addition to some landscaping, putting that split rail fence around the concrete area, I think it's
okay, yeah.
another thing.
Yeah.
The Colonial Plaza landscape and interpretive signage, that's Scott, but I will, do you want to read it? You want me to read it?
Well, I can do it. It was my project. So the council had asked us to add some uplighting on the trees. It's really in the right of way. It's not technically in, private or the property. It's in the right of way. But so we completed that with the lighting, and the signage wasn't necessary. There's already historic signing there, or signage there, so we didn't include that. And so, yeah, that project was wrapped up. I think it was actually in 2022 when I finished that up. And so, yeah, that project portion of it was done. The project was kept open. Additional funds were added to that for what's currently being done. That's probably later on, but with the reader board sign that the B is working on. So that project is moving forward. We also, I guess the added funds that we're put in that were the city purchased we call it the bagel shop property. City purchased, we acquired that and then demoed the building, and we recently just put in irrigation topsoil and hydroseeded it to just make it safe and open for public use while kind of the downtown areas, the planning is still in the it's still at the 30,000 foot level. So I'll leave it at that. But yeah, so that's kind of the plaza.
Next two, which are 3 and 5 on the map, Harry Todd Park. It's gotten a great refresh in addition to the refresh from 2022. The pickleball courts there just replaced the underutilized skate park and the tennis courts. We've added 4 total pickleball courts. 2 of them are adaptive courts. And then there's also 3 ADA stalls just directly next to the pickleball courts. At this point, contractor has mostly wrapped up their work. We did a final walkthrough last week, and there's still some benches that our maintenance team will be installing before getting that fully opened up to the public. But that's just kind of wrapped up and it's pretty good. I think there will be some planting that's needed, but I think we're pretty good about that. I'm working towards a ribbon cutting and reaching out to leaders in that neighborhood to do some sort of back to school event along with the ribbon cutting so that we can get a two for one there. In addition to the pickleball courts, there's a parking lot. There was a concern. We had eco blocks there that prevented some certain activities, some donuts and some just activity that we didn't want happening at the park that was just unsafe. We've added several islands and resurfaced that parking lot at Harry Todd. So that looks just a lot better, looks really good. And we did both of those projects through RCO grants. It just really helped multiply the amount of funds that the city was able to put forward to get that work completed. And American Lake.
American Lake Park, it's been a little longer than everybody wanted, but I trust you. I'm out there all day, every day, sometimes twice a day. We had a partial opening with the beach to accommodate really the 4th of July holiday. That portion of the park, both portions of the park have reached substantial completion. I'm doing a hunchback walkthrough on Thursday. Today is it Wednesday?
Today's Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Yes, we'll get there. So really at this point, the site is remaining to be fenced because the hydro seed's getting established. So as soon as we take that fencing down, the masses are gonna be in there. So we really want to take as much opportunity as we can to get the grass established before ribbon cutting. At this point, we do have National Night Out scheduled. It's August 4th or 5th. So we are moving forward with removing the temporary fencing to open the park to support that event. And then I will be on vacation middle of August, but I hope to coordinate a ribbon cutting event with all the folks involved in the development of that project in the neighborhood. I think mid-September at this point. Sally mentioned it's September 5th. Is that Fiesta de Familia or?
6,
7.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of focus around that event that I think just after that event is still great weather to host a ribbon cutting event at the park. And I will keep you all in the loop, of course, to
Picked a tough time to grow grass.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta
It's
get
when
the
the-
contractor out there.
And
to
that's
do
what
the
the
work.
people want the park too.
I know, so it's irrigated, it's running twice a day, but they had to come out and reseed it on Monday, and so there's just a bunch of conversation to get out and do that, and then we gotta wait for the little seeds to germinate, and
Think it's
Um,
hard.
I know, we're doing the best we can, and I really, I am so excited about all the improvements that I can't even articulate how excited I am for folks to get out there and see how different the park is, see the view of the lake from the upper area without the restroom is spectacular. The accessible merry-go-round is a really exciting new play feature in the upper plaza. There's even a chessboard we incorporated on one of the tables overlooking the lake. The grand staircase is just really spectacular. I'm proud of all the work the city's put into all the upgrades at that park. There was some definite creative challenges that went into that, and I can't wait for folks to get in and use it.
So I have one question. This was came up at our American Lake meeting. It's, Mary didn't know the answer. It's that triangle in the park that's got the wooden fence and there's some trees. What
Right.
is the, so we said, what's the purpose of it? Is it,
It is a designated wetland. So when we do a park and we survey the park, environmental biologists go out and they observe the local plant life in a shoreline habitat. And then they, map those plants. And by state law, we are required to protect and preserve and maintain those native plants. So part of which too, we've developed, there's 2 shoreline buffers on the lake, a 25-foot buffer and a 135-foot buffer. Sometimes there is some additional mitigation involved with all the hard surface paving that we've had in that park. They're pervious pavers, the accessible ramp, but they still consider, steps and all of the bulkhead and everything impervious development. And there's mitigation required to offset those impervious developments. So we have native plants in the area with the split row fencing to help folks understand that that is a native area to allow the plants to grow. And we will be installing some additional signage. I believe it says critical habitat area with a heron. It's a standard sign you may have seen in other parks along those types of planted areas. But I actually was gonna probably coordinate with Bryn to even do if they thought they had the capacity to do a social media update, because I've had multiple questions about that. What is it? Why do we have it? It's different. Just a really education opportunity for folks.
So I have a question on the parking lot area. I live very close to the park and I hear the drifting all the time. And I talked to Mary about redoing part of that parking lot so that cars don't get in there and just raise havoc. It's a big problem in the Lake City area. I mean, they use all the roundabouts and they use the parking lot. So I'm hopeful that there was something that was thought.
We've had a lot of conversation about enforcement of several activities at that park. Illegal dumping has also been an ongoing issue that we've tried to navigate with police support. I know the police have a flock camera on 2 flock cameras. I don't know the logistics of how that supports crime occurring in the area, but I know that it's a very new installation. So I think we can probably have ongoing conversations as
I'll bring it up at the Lake City
as time,
neighborhood meeting
yeah,
then, too.
if there's current ongoing issues, we like to communicate that with our police
Yeah.
staff to
Yeah.
support.
Police are the only ones that have the enforcement capability. and
Well,
that's the
true.
difficult part.
Police and design though.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's
No,
like
If
the
there, yeah,
overflow
if there's a
parking.
design,
Gates
solution.
never locked,
Right.
so there's
Um,
activities that happen there too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I understand all this, but it's something that I think.
I think that's
the
great
neighborhood.
feedback for like the legacy plan development. If we feel there's an ongoing safety concern that activity is bringing to the park, that during the legacy plan, let's chat about how often it's occurring, when it's occurring, where it's occurring. Is it
How
on
to
the boat
mitigate
center? Is it in the
activities.
upper park? Is it on both parking lots? There are sometimes design solutions.
Then the other thing is, and this is a pet peeve of mine, is we're planting so much grass. Now, the geese, because of the country club, because they put in water holes, we've got more geese out there that are crapping. And so you have kids and activities that you don't want poop along. But why aren't we trying more native plants? I mean, I've got a yard full of native plants that do really, really well. And it just seems criminal that we keep planting more and more grass. I mean, ball fields and those kinds of fields is appropriate, but just grass, it seems to be a little counterproductive in, we talk about climate control and all these other issues, and we're just watering grass and letting the geese feed. It's just, you don't have to answer.
No, I
It's just
just
something
wanted
I
to
think-
interject, I'm a huge, I consider impacts of artificial turf, I consider impacts of lawn turf. It's not a native species. I agree with you. I think there are certain parks that might accommodate native plantings better than others, but American Lake Park has such high use that from a maintenance perspective, the
Yeah.
management of something different might be challenging. But at Wards Lake, we are looking at 2 different hydroseed options for some of the native areas that have less mowing and maintenance.
Mhm.
They have other species of legumes and clover and things that are not just grass species. So I think the clover is greener, longer, and is maybe less of a fire hazard in some large open spaces. So we're exploring that at Wards Lake Park. And I
Bet.
think that also for my own personal climate justice, that in the legacy plan, if we could, consider adapting landscapes to, climate change. How do we do that? How do we support pollinators? I know I gave a talk about bees, but pollinators in general, that's kind of a bigger picture, and urban areas is very challenging how to address all those problems. But I think as we get more information and develop things, there's opportunities to change and adapt to those concerns.
Thank you.
American Lake Park, where we at export silicon wayfinding. So we did finalize, with support of our consultants, kind of concurrent to the park ID monument signs, a wayfinding brand standard package, which I will be referencing with the Nisqually project. And then there was the preliminary design for the new entryway. There was actually some site distance challenges that came up when Planning and Public Works reviewed that proposal, and there's currently no funding to kind of move that conversation forward. So at this point, we have the schematic design review approved and no additional funding to continue the development of a new park entry.
Can we see the main entry design?
The 2
Uh,
pillars,
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, now I remember.
that was a while ago, though.
Yeah, I
can't
like
remember.
that. And same with the sign. and with the-
No,
I know that
it's
was
like
a while.
really-
Looked at a couple of different options.
Yeah.
Chambers Creek Trail Phase 2, that project, Mary was really heavily involved in it, and I know they had a ribbon cutting for the Phase 2 portion of it. Pierce County is supporting Phase 3, which I understand meets up with Fort Steilacoom Park, but that's the anticipated kind of terminus of the development. They're really working through the design development of that to understand the future costs of any future phasing. And Scott, in the interim, will be partners with the county and University Place to just really track future timelines and developments. When I spoke with Pierce County, they anticipated pushing that out, given funding to future grant cycles once they establish a cost.
One thing we'd like to maybe put into the legacy plan to consider would be the connection of Chambers Creek trails to the trail system that's now developed in the State Wildlife Refuge. Because that's getting really extensive and very educational, and it's a oak prairie savanna that's now under restoration that will give you 3 different ecosystems to walk through between there and the tide shore. We've talked to a number of city council members about it, long-term plan, but that's a natural that's just right there.
Yeah.
With just a little bit of easements and right of way. And it also will ease the parking for the Lakewood side that doesn't exist where the trailhead is. There's 2 cars parking. We've developed now in the wildlife area. We have 26 parking spots, room for buses. And so it can be a tie-in that'd be a win-win for all the communities, University Place too.
Yes, overpass.
Expensive, and tough, but so's everything. Yeah.
So will Phase 3 complete the Chambers Creek Trail all the way down to the the bottom section
The bottom near,
by near the dam. I know there's no funding for the dam replacement. That went away. But
you know, I don't understand the full logistics of that connection. I know, John Anderson had spoke
Yep.
about like the complexities of all of that, so I know it's been on everyone's radar as they've worked through the challenges for other elements of that, so it's really, you know, when we get a new park director, as Scott kind of reviews that the county is understanding, you know, all the big picture objectives that our communities share for that partnership.
I wasn't really involved.
Yeah.
I get little snippets every once in a while from Mary. So I'm meeting with, Jessica Stone on August 6th, where she'll read me in and bring me up to speed on.
Apparently they were working on DOT money and such too
Yeah.
for that, since the sewer goes through there. It's a really complicated project and the estuary restoration is gonna be a Lulu.
So hopefully, as we move forward, you know, I'll have more information. Know a little bit more about it.
Switching gears to active and underway projects. This one is listed as complete in the map, but there's still a few more details we need to add. Primley Park, we were able to successfully replace the playground there. Pretty excited about it. It can accommodate good range of age groups based on the input that we heard. I think we really delivered a high quality playground structure there. But we still are working towards design and permitting on the ADA stall that will require, you know, just kind of working through some removing some vegetation and then creating a pretty clear pathway, ADA pathway into the playground area, or kind of a seating element next to the playground. But yep, almost there, but playground's there, ready to be enjoyed by the public.
We did a pretty comprehensive update on the tribe project, so I'm gonna skip that. And then, do you wanna talk
Yeah,
about the
I'll jump
ADA
into
overflow?
this one. So, ADA overflow parking, we're looking at, developing a lot that can support not only recurring annual events, but also, provide access and parking to the pavilion. And we want to figure out how this investment in a lot will support potentially the H barn as well. So we're having some conversations with Public Works on how the stall count for this parking can just kind of serve multiple purposes and multiple needs. But ultimately, we're in the middle of reaching out to a consultant to get this in design and get this through permitting. We wanted to work with Public Works, but I think they're at capacity at the moment and we're not able to really support us with the design efforts for this. But the goal is to get through design and permitting in the next 6 to 8 months, potentially a year, and then get started with construction by the summer of next year, just to not have to interrupt Summerfest once that gets underway for 26. But
any idea how many parking stalls? Just a guess?
If you're talking H barn, you know,
Well,
we're talking
is it
maybe
100?
200 people
Yeah.
could be
Not
there.
enough to trigger stormwater,
Okay.
right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably the reality,
Yeah.
because that
You
just expedite.
You could split it out.
And with this project, and see on there that it's a $250,000
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
So
It's 11
you don't
cars,
expect a whole
You can
lot.
afford asphalt, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be an exercise in working backwards from the
Right.
budget to accommodate,
Yeah.
that park has just such a massive capacity that,
Well, and long-term planning too, because you may not be able to build what you really are gonna need in 5 years.
Right.
The H barn's going and the,
development in this
Yeah.
park is challenging as well as it's designated historic, so
Yeah.
it's really sensitively, creatively developing those features takes a lot of conversation with archaeologists and planners and permit folks,
I
so.
thought you guys planned it out really good this weekend for having the vendors go on the side of the barn and I mean, I thought it was worked out well, and it kind of gave you a little bit of how things might flow around there. or I thought about that as I saw that, like, ooh, it's good, how things could flow with the H bar, so
Mhm.
it was a neat exercise for me to see.
The historic cottage transfer, unfortunately, Mary was kind of heavily involved also in the discussion of the scope of that project, so I think at this point it's on hold, and when we get a new director on board, we will resume the development of that.
Sign replacement program. At this point, you may have noticed all of the previous signs that were installed have been removed and demolished, and those areas for the new signs are just getting prepared. Right now, working with the contractor, they fabricated all the signs. I think we did a test fit at Active Park. That was one of our first signs that was installed. There's some minor details and tweaks that we're still working out before getting these rolled out at all sites. And we're hoping to get this wrapped up by the end of August. That's the goal.
Wars Lake Park Phase 1 and 2. We began construction. I can't remember the last time I spoke to you guys about this project. But we began
Wow.
construction this January. And we've got a couple challenges with the pump track. It's federally funded, and during bidding we couldn't source the prefabricated plans because they were constructed out of the country. So we've pulled that portion of the project, but the contractor supporting the development of the mountain bike trails has also supported the development of design build concrete pump track in the same location. It's going to have the same, if not a better experience than the previous design. And they're actually pouring the concrete later this week. So
Good.
things are happening. So just an update on construction. They've got all the new playground equipment. So there's 2 new playgrounds. They have a different equipment. It's the timber form. It's made locally, Cascade timber form. And it's really kind of in line with the nature theme at the park. They have installed the bridge. That was very, very exciting. 173-foot span bridge with a 1 million pound crane that hoisted that into place a couple weeks ago. And so they put it in place. It's just behind the cinema. It's the north abutment, and the south abutment terminates. There'll be a paved walking trail around the lake that's just under a quarter mile. They poured the concrete on the bridge. It's a really fabulous experience to be able to improve the safety at that site, because you can now navigate all the way around. There's not a dead space in the corner, and it opens up visibility with all the site clearing that's occurred. In the forest, we've cleared all the invasive ivy. It's unrecognizable. Over
That was a
5.8
huge amount of
acres
ivy in there.
of invasive species removed on the site. So you before couldn't see more than 10 feet ahead of you. I mean, it felt somewhat uncomfortable to walk through the site because it's just so densely vegetated. So you can now currently see through all the conifer forests and the dog park area. It feels very safe and open. The new neighborhood park development, they're forming up curbs and everything for new parking lot access adjacent to the south playground. And we anticipate all the construction at this point to be completed probably November. Their substantial completion is November 9th. I'm trying to push. They've had 2 crews out there working because they wanted to expedite construction on this project, and it's been quite complicated. So sometime between September and November, they've been very accommodating to understand that this park we want to get out there while the good weather is happening. So I'm trying to convince them you can stay on the expedited schedule, and we can open in September during good weather. We can get a lot of happy people out here using all these new spaces before we get to the rainy season. So that's the goal.
Moving on to Oak Brook Park. Excited about this one. We have a consultant on board and a pretty solid schematic design underway that would deliver a shelter, a perimeter walking path, and an ADA stall. There was conversation before my time about some sort of sports court, a pickleball court, or some sort of basketball court. With the funding available, I don't think it'd be feasible to have all of these things. So from my conversations with folks during the National Night Out event last year in August, with folks in that neighborhood, there was just a prioritization of a shelter more than a pickleball court. So I think that's a little bit more feasible, but depending on where bids come in, we'll explore the opportunities for adding a sports court down the line, or just kind of making sure that the design accommodates that in a future phase. But ultimately, circulation path would be kind of field verified, a shelter. We're just about ready to get that fully permitted with the consultant on board now, and hope to complete this by the end of the year. But I think that's just very hopeful. But I'm not sure we can get there, but we'll try as hard as we can.
That's good. The shelter's gonna actually service that park way better than
Exactly.
a limited amount of pickleball space.
That and the circulation path.
That's a
It'll
big.
get a lot of, yeah. Good walking.
People get their steps in.
Yep.
Get about a third of a mile.
Edgewater Park. We have a contract with CND Engineers that we went through an RFQ process to review the right fit for support for this really unique site development. So I'm really excited about their support. It's on the city council agenda for consent approval on August 4th. And then we will begin schematic design development based on the master plan that was approved in 2024. Overall, we are going to work really hard to work closely with Planning and Public Works Engineering for all the right-of-way improvements. We've gone back and forth, the one way this way, the one way this way, the one way this way. So Jeff was not a part of that conversation, so he will need to be involved, and our city civil engineer in the development of the roadway, and we're going to work to meet our grant approved timelines. So anticipate design and engineering and permitting through, I believe it's June of 2027, and then construction really around the fish window for that site, which is summer through winter. So there'll be just some strategic coordination of the development around the fish window for the in-water boat launch and fishing pier and beach development.
Another exciting waterfront street end work, specifically the pilot project at Westlake Avenue is well underway. We have our pre-app conversation scheduled with their permit staff here around August. So just moving as quickly as we could. I think there's a lot of constraints with the timeline. ARPA funding is moving this project along, and all of that ARPA funding, or all funds, have to be spent by December of next year for projects. So there's just a strong push to get through with permitting within the next year, and then have construction start and as quickly develop the site so that we don't run into any issues spending the funds by December of next year. So that's well underway. We have the consultant on board, and they're moving pretty quickly on efforts. So jumping into Camp Murray, that we need to hire a consultant and also need to put together a stakeholder group that's made up of not only folks from the base, but folks from the Tillicum neighborhood, and just interested parties that really want to have access to boat launch in that region, a boat launch into American Lake that kind of reduce the capacity that American Lake Park already provides in terms of boat launch access. This is only funded up to design and master planning. So I think with that master plan, we would pursue additional future construction funds after having that wrapped up. But yeah, jumping into Gateway Monuments, there is at least one more Gateway Monument. I think BNI, that one's in the wheelhouse for planning and public works. Engineering, they're working through some improvements along South Tacoma Way. But there is one more on really close to Wards Lake Park on 84th and Tacoma Mall Boulevard. We're working on the survey, and hope to have either like the formal Gateway Monument sign that we all know and love, or since we are installing a reader board at Gravelly Lake and Motor Avenues, see if there's a possibility to, instead of putting a Gateway Monument that says Lakewood, we would have a reader board at that entry point into the city. But I think we still need to speak with council a little bit more to see if there's interest in switching that from a monument to a reader board instead. But there's a lot of opportunity there to do that. And then legacy plan, we spoke a little bit about it. This kind of talks about a Fort Silicon Park master plan, but at this point, I don't think that we'd be able to integrate a master plan for Fort Silicon Park with the legacy plan being more of a kind of a refresh as opposed to a complete redo. And projects not yet underway in 25.
With me, for Silicon Park Pavilion Acoustics, I have met with a couple different acoustic engineers. That's a really specialty service I didn't even realize existed, but now I do. So given the quotes that they provided for acoustic design, I think we're gonna approach this from a design build perspective to alleviate the acoustic echo in the building. We did talk about previously just a wood kind of paneling with a felt underlayment. It's kind of a neutral aesthetic for the ceiling, but because it's just a box of hard surfaces, carpeting is not really functional for that use of the site. So we've talked about panels on the walls as well as the curtains that we have, those black curtains. Apparently there's an acoustic fabric. Learning a lot here. But we are hoping to look at that and get it taken care of.
Panel from the ceiling make a big difference too. They do that like natatoriums and it really.
Yeah,
helps.
Mary had strong vision, no flying ironing boards.
Yeah. Like
Sounds just like
Sounds
Mary, yeah. Sounds just like Mary.
So I had found it's really kind of working with some of the, I think manufacturers of some of those products because they can offer kind of a design build perspective of we're trying to accomplish reducing the echo. What's a neutral, maintainable aesthetic within our budget?
Some of those curtain things
I
can
think-
come and go as you need them,
Works. Yes.
based on your space and your occupancies.
Yeah, so really keeping the vision of a neutral rentable facility that's appealing to people's wedding venues or retirement parties and, executable for the city.
Downtown Park master plan. Do you want to talk about that or should I just jump in?
We can start and I'll fill in
Yeah.
spaces that maybe are unclear.
Yeah, so downtown park master planning, I think there's a little bit more direction that might be needed before we get a consultant on board. I think there's an opportunity to once the fences go down at the current former bagel site, there could be some engagement with some external stakeholders and also some internal stakeholder conversations to kind of firm up exactly the program that can outline kind of a better process for once a consultant gets on board that can work through a few different concepts that might make a little bit more sense, but there's just a little bit more developing of a goal that needs to happen before really bringing on a consultant. But so far from the legacy plan, there have been a lot of conversations on the kinds of things they want to see, whether it's at the downtown park or at other places, including items like just more public art, things like a spray park. But thinking about that site and how limited it is with the access to parking and other kinds of things, we just have to be very mindful of what.
All we need to see adjacent property and would be solved.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a little bit more.
Oh, yo, I've been following that
But
for 15 years.
1 acre will get us started.
Yeah, to kind of give a picture of the site, so the bagel property, it's 1.58 acres is what the city acquired. And if you recall, between CVS property and that property, there is a row of oak trees that we probably wouldn't want to disturb as part of any sort of development. So you're really probably talking about maybe an acre and a quarter, somewhere around there of land that we, could develop into some sort of downtown park feature. And so it's what can we put there? I've heard a couple different ideas, and I think council is still working through some of their thoughts on what this, standalone might be able to, provide us, or is it looking at, this is an adjacent to something that's bigger that we're looking at, trying to master plan it and build something that it would be supportive of what, something in the future might be. I also know that Planning and Public Works, they are currently looking, in the downtown area for properties that might be able to support something a little bit bigger to then come back and present council as another option. So there's a lot of things happening, in trying to get a downtown park vision established, and then kind of moving towards that execution of what that's going to be. But yeah, we're going to get a consultant on board for this particular site, because right now this is what we own.
Yeah.
So,
But with construction, some of the things that are anticipated in the next 10 years, the downtown core, that site may be too small, maybe too much in the wrong place. So it's not going to be the site.
well, and when you look at what the size that I just described in the legacy plan, when we're talking the legacy plan and development, this really meets more of the criteria of a pocket park. And
Yeah.
so we either need to look at the legacy plan and adjusting that, or we need to really look at this as a pocket park. So yeah, we're working on it. It's just in the, infinite phase of start.
We need some generous, wealthy person to buy QFC and just
Yeah.
donate it to the city. Yeah.
With additional funds
Yeah, to build.
to take it down.
That too.
We need ongoing maintenance funds as well.
Be helpful.
We need a benefactor. Yeah.
You gotta dream sometimes.
So there's the running list of park playground equipment replacements that I believe this list came from the previous legacy plan. I think now that we're updating the legacy plan, there's an opportunity to identify where the priority might be. There have been conversations about looking at school facilities and how to prioritize those potentially, but yeah, right now thinking about these 4 sites and what others may come up from the legacy plan, I think helps identify what the priority would be for 26 specifically, and then down the line, just creating a plan for it.
Schools and parks has come up 4 times in my time here in 20 years. And I still endorse that whole concept if we can make it work, because we have all these little schools that have parks, they have playgrounds, they've got open space.
The playground at Fort Silicon Park, though, I think is a really integral part of that park, and if it's slated for
Oh,
development, that
absolutely.
really kind of thinking about that when we review the legacy plan, that I think that's a pretty special facility that might have a unique and more expensive, larger, a different approach than a typical playground for the city. So I think we should definitely consider, incorporating special feedback for that in the legacy plan development to consider what's the
That
right.
is a magnet for all of Pierce County.
Mhm,
Places
yeah,
you always
regional,
want to see.
regional destination.
Next section is unfunded projects, and Scott, do you wanna lead this one?
Sure. So, at last night's, council meeting, in the city manager report, reported council, kind of where we're at with the H barn. So we're in schematic design, and through the schematic design, we did receive the cost estimate from RLB, on the schematic design portion of it. If you know, schematic design is, let's add this, let's put this in, let's, pie in the sky, let's have everything. and have a complete, wonderful, everything you could want in the project. And that was what was, scoped out for ROB to do their cost estimating on. It also included, when they talked about the square footage price, it included all of the outside hardscaping, ADA installs, all of that. So in the landscaping. So the overall price of the project, including like the non-construction stuff. So the engineering services are permitted, permitting fees, cultural resources that we'd have to do on the site, surveying, the site furnishings, like tables, chairs, stuff you put inside the building, all of that kind of stuff. So all of that came out to 14,344,000 and change. So roughly that. And then we looked at, with the consultant Graham Baba, what does it look like if we were to reduce some of these things, either completely remove from the scope or reduce some of this. So like an example of the reduction would be just having phase one or single phase power brought into the building instead of three-phase power. That is about a $570,000 savings because to the project, because phase or three-phase is outside the park and you'd have to come all the way up Mango Lake. So things like that we looked at, how could we reduce these things and still deliver a project that would be, ideal, very usable, all of those things. But it really would reduce it just down to the footprint of the building. So that doesn't do any of the outside stuff except for the permit required landscaping that would be part of the exterior of the building. And that gets us down to 10,400,000. So it's about a $3.9 million savings to really bear it down to, all the things we think we could live without that we could then do in later phases or just live without. And then we looked at, well, what if we do the bare minimum, but then we add back in a couple of the things, which we looked at doing all the site work, add that back in, and then add the three-phase power, which changes some of your mechanical engineering components. So there's a whole another spreadsheet to this that is all the background. That would deliver a project of about 11.5 million, which would be a $2.8 million savings from the original. Again, remember this is at the schematic design level, and as we continue further in with Graham Baba and refine and tighten up the numbers, that overall number is likely to go down. But then the cost
Could go up.
the cost of what we, actually design may go up. And then also as we push this out, we have a cost escalator in there to start construction in Q3 of 2026. That's a pretty aggressive schedule. So you might be looking at more cost escalation. So we introduced that, or city manager introduced that to council last night and asked for, their thoughts and direction and what council, which I think was a very thoughtful thing to do, is they asked to come back to this as a study session after the new city manager starts, after a new director for Parks and Recreation is in place. And I think, and maybe Mr. Pearson might be able to answer. I think they also said maybe after the council members are
New elected.
And so it may be that, this project is on the back burner as far as, council goes until these other pieces are in place and then revisit. I do know that from the Partners for Parks side of things, they are still working on some of even though the campaign ended, they're still working on some of the fundraising aspects of it. We do have a barn bingo August 10th. Come on out and, maybe you win some money to donate back. I'm not sure how it works. But yeah, so August 10th, and we're going to be doing it behind the barn in the little plaza area. And I should have pulled it, well, I don't know, share. So one of our police officers, his daughter got married there a couple weeks ago. And the picture that he showed me is that it's absolutely fantastic of this. They put up string lights and they call it tulle, that's hanging and they're just having a blast, and it's it's in the plaza area, and it's a prime example of what could take place, if we had the interior space as well as the exterior space done at this, and I'm really hopeful and look forward to working with council to keep this project moving forward.
Yeah, Partners for Parks is committed to it. I mean, we're almost at 3 million now in money raised, and it will continue going until this project happens. And of course, Mary's vision originally was to get grants from historic building sites and things of the nature to fund a lot of this too. So it's going to take the new parks director some time to sort through where you can get that other 6 million, that we're
City
going to need.
manager did kind of talk through those funding sources
Yeah.
that were that I'm assuming Mary had gone through with her on that. And then kind of ended it with, we're still at a $4 million gap. So
No, 3-phase, it's out.
yeah.
Just
that's
a
out.
warming kitchen.
So that's where
Yeah.
we're at, and look forward to, the barn bingo and Partnership Parks working, through some of the fundraising and see where we go. Council has some competing, ideas and choices of where to put money. I thought it was interesting, one of the council members brought up the idea of maybe because we talk about a multi-generational community center, and he brought up the idea of marrying these two together. That might be, an idea to consider that using this facility for that purpose might be worth looking at.
That's the one thing that has to be added to the legacy plan is grandiose of a community center. What's that mean? How big? All of that is a big one. It's a big deal.
Yeah. That's the H barn. Any questions or anything?
Well, I don't know how you keep up with it all, because that is a lot of work. You've accomplished a ton and a lot more on your plate, so keep your heads up, be proud, because you guys are making a difference and it shows. Yeah, it really does.
So there's one last project, even though it's.
Oh, I missed it?
Water.
I thought that was it.
Water.
Oh,
On
my fault.
Diane.
Sorry, okay.
No, that's okay.
We heard about this a while back.
Yeah.
We don't want it.
Oh, that.
I heard briefly about it because there was a vacant property near the water district that I believe was inquired about. Again, it was a very small parcel though, so more of a pocket park development.
Just off of Nyanza though.
Well,
No,
Bradley.
it's up in Hillcrest
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
So if you're at the south roundabout on Nyanza Gravity Lake, if you look up on the hill, you'll see a water tower.
Yeah.
And it involves the kind of the what do you call that? The zone, or there's a zone around a water well that's not developable.
Right.
So it involves the Lakewood Water District property, and then I don't know if it's a parcel or it's an easement or what that is. That's a right of way that's next to it, and they looked at developing, that, but it's pretty small and
Maybe not.
yeah.
I'm not sure if it's possible for the legacy plan, but like visions for, additional parcel acquisition, given that we've really kind of fully developed a lot of our current park system. What's missing, maybe like a matrix goal of future acquisitions, if that's an approach that might be thoughtful and help guide future development or acquisition of those types of sites. But from our perspective, I think it really helps guide decision making if there's some metrics of goals and objectives, so that when the due diligence and acquisition period is occurring, site surveillance and, looking at equity with the quarter mile walkability of our community. Is it meeting a need that's not currently met from another park? Some of those metrics if there's a creative way to review that, I think it might be helpful for these types of things that come up.
Yeah, we've done it a couple of times, just
Yep.
look at where the parks are and what is the islands where they don't exist. That's a good input for your legacy plan is, like you say, tear down a house and build a park.
Yeah, I mean, we're a fully built out city and.
Yeah.
The most popular national park was all private property at one time. That's Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and that's all been reclaimed, and that's. In Lakewood, what we're gonna have to do if we want to create future parks, we're gonna have to figure out a way to buy back private land to develop. Stuff.
Or work with the school department and
Yeah,
see,
yeah, oh,
see
yeah.
what works.
Those opportunities are
For
great.
a combo.
Those are great.
The wildlife
I
area.
mean, the Lake Louise project was
Partnership.
good, and we had a good partnership when we had that connection, and then that person left, and it seemed like that kind of connection fell apart, and that's kind of secular what happens. I mean, I've seen that in my own.
There's
In the
that
city
big
I work.
parcel in Lake City,
Mhm.
old Park Lodge.
Yes.
So we keep talking about it.
Yep. We gotta get that.
And,
We gotta keep pushing and pursuing.
So it's do we have any plans for getting together informally in August?
That was gonna be one of the questions I had, so I'm assuming no director's report.
I can give you an update.
Okay.
And first, I know some of you in the room, but I'm Scott Williams. I've been with the city for many years, as the
How many years?
operation, 23.
20?
Little over, about 23 and a half.
Yeah.
So been here a while, and, I think this might be my first park board, maybe years
Yeah, it was a
ago.
long time ago.
But yeah, Mary was the face and, and she was the life, of the party, so to speak, within our department. And so, I've been asked to step in as the interim, while, the search was on for the new city manager. They've now hired the new city manager. He will start August 25th. What occurs after that, nobody can really tell as far as if he wants to come in right away, advertise for somebody, if he wants to sit back and observe, how the city operates before he makes any sort of decisions. I don't know. So in the meantime, you're all stuck with me. But no, I do know a lot about all of this, but my focus was parks maintenance, city street maintenance. We combined all the city maintenance into one division back in 2015. And so I used to just focus on parks. Now I focus on all city maintenance. And so I kind of have drifted a little bit away from my parks core. I mean, that's what my degree is the parks and recreation. And, so I've drifted a little bit away from that. And, it's great. I always say I don't need to be the smartest person in the room. I just need to hire smarter people. I didn't hire them, but I like having, people around that really are engaged, know what they're doing. And, luckily for the city of Lakewood, we have that team, whether it's Sally running, the events or, Jay, which you all know, Jay Anderson, and Tom, they're the maintenance supervisors. We have a great team. So, my goal is to just keep things running and going and put us in, a good spot and good light, for when that new city manager comes and that's, see where everything goes, once he gets here. If you haven't looked at the city of Kalispell, look at their website, go look at their parks and recreation. They have some fantastic developments that they did, under his tenure. And so, I'm really hopeful and excited for, the energy that he's going to bring to parks and recreation and development. So, yeah, that's kind of just an introduction of me. And then just a quick report that I just want to do about Summerfest. Todd gave this report last night that you were watching the meeting, but so just a quick thing. So we had 98% of the food trucks or food vendors sold out of food before the event was over.
Dang.
Even though they brought more food than what they had brought the previous year. So that's impressive. There were 230 vendors and partners. And when you say partner, that would be more like the Wenatchee Youth Circus, the trapeze, the motorcycle, that kind of stuff. Those were partners, and then all the vendors. So there's a comment that somebody posted about the check-in for vendors. And this is what he said: I have to tip my cap to your awesome organizational skills. Your team was very impressive. When I pulled up on Friday to set up, they greeted me and hand delivered my payment. I'm not sure what that was, but and escorted me with a little golf cart to our location. Smooth as silk. Great job. And then comments from social media from folks that attended. Oops, that just jumped all the way down. Supposed to do that. What else? So huge shout out to and kudos to the Parks Department at Summerfest at Fort Stillwell Park. Was awesome and well organized. So much to do and eat. Music was fantastic. Special thank you to the staff at the kids jump area. They were patient and kind with all those excited kids. Even late into the night, traffic was even organized. Well done. Great job, everyone. Enjoyed it immensely and looking forward to next year. Such a great event. Yes, I was very impressed with the parking situation. My roommate went and said the music was fantastic. It was featured on Q13. There was a Lonnie Neal, one of our recreation coordinators. She did a little advertisement plug with video from past events, past Summerfest events, and it was really well done. That was nice. And there was also an article written up from the News Tribune. Deputy Mayor Moss kind of suggested maybe that this is filling the gap of the loss of the Taste of Tacoma. That folks are coming out, for that, which that's probably a good point. And I think that's kind of the end of the. No, wait, maybe the end here. So the police report. So they had three different units out there. They had the traffic management unit, which kind of took care of the perimeter of the park. They had a park patrol unit, and then they had their public outreach team, which is kind of their static display. There were 28 officers at the event, and that's a tremendous impact and increase of what we had in years past. They've slowly been increasing it, but this is the most that we've had, and it was really, really good support, and we are appreciative of that. During the event, there were 28 calls for service that came into the dedicated Summerfest 911 line. We're a big enough event that there's like the emergency management. This is a dedicated event, so that's nice. Most of the calls, we had 16 lost parents and lost parents. We had the children.
Yeah. It's gonna get lost.
I knew where the children were. And some of those also were adults with needs that needed to be reunited. And then the international stage, they hosted 19 different performances representing 18 different cultures and 17 different countries. So that's it's a really unique and neat part of our event that we have this diverse whole stage, whole area for the diversity. So that I think is all that I had on there. Yep, that's in the report. And then just from the setup, takedown, it doesn't all happen in a day, and it doesn't all happen with a few folks. It is all hands on deck from all parks, recreation. We had some people that weren't even in our department that supported it. Capital projects team, they were supporting and out there, set up, working the event. Not so much tear down, but
You can't make it 15 hours to go.
after the event's over.
Well, Cameron emailed me looking for the Northwest Youth Corps. Apparently they had sequenced them in the past to help. So
Yeah.
we'll have to look at that next year, because I had them the week before and then I have them next week for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Jay did reach out to Mary, because we have coordinated that in the
Yeah.
past. And by the time we reached out to them this year, they were already booked for
Right.
that week, you know.
So now that I know you're using them, we'll try to make sure that's in their schedule, because they have a new head down there.
Yeah, and they did a great job, like the tasks that they could do is, you know, putting out all the delineators and the ribbon and, you know, setting up the parking areas. Just to have the bodies to go out and do that is super helpful. So yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, you know, and the key role is Sally, and Lonnie. They're a team that it's kind of their vision and how it comes together. Something also that's, you know, kind of behind the scenes that the police put a lot of work in on is the incident planning portion of it. You know, so there's a whole behind the scenes, you know, program of everything that you could think of in different scenarios to keep people safe. You know, part of the units that are embedded within the 3 units out there is a tactical team that's on site, you know, all day. We have the fire department here with, you know, ambulance, you know, in case there's, you know, any sort of need from the public, you know, at the event, or if there's a, you know, in a bad event that happens. We worked with Pierce College this year to have reunification identified in case there was an incident that was, so it's people I don't know that, you know, that aren't involved. They come to the event, they have a great time, they go home and they talk about how wonderful the event was. The planning and the work that goes into it behind the scenes. And like I said, we're big enough that we have dedicated 911, you know, operator for the event. It's pretty impressive to do all this for a 1-day event.
Yeah. You want to do it for 2 days?
You know, we used to do that.
Yeah.
Did that for maybe about 4 or 5 years.
We had
We had Athlon.
Great.
And that was really hard to pull off with staff,
Yeah.
you know, to work that many hours at the event.
Back-to-back days too.
Yeah, that's hard.
All right, thank you, Scott. Any reports from board members? I want to make comment just about Lakewood Park staff. You guys rock. You are fantastic. From CIP to what Sally put on this weekend, to you stepping into Mary's role when you're still in it, and Nikki anchoring it. I can always get whatever information I need there. You guys are top notch, so keep up the great work, guys. Thank you.
Kudos.
Any other reports? Hearing none, we will meet again on September. Oh,
Question.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get together in August?
oh, yes. I skip my mind. Do we want to look at the date in the calendar?
I've never hosted you guys.
Okay.
Been to your places, so I would be willing to have you at American Lake
Okay.
on, say, August 20th, to Wednesday.
August 20th.
So we do
Did you
usually
do
do
it? Yeah, usually we try to kind of.
Yeah, during
Right,
the
that
week
way.
sometime.
like we
Yeah,
usually do.
yeah.
Try to uphold your traditions. We have stairs, we have steps to get down to the lake and steps to get back up.
And
So notification will be,
How do we know?
so if you get, or Nikki maybe can send out our address, your address to everybody, and then a time, a start time and that sort of thing.
Great.
That would be awesome,
Is there
Janet.
water in the lake?
You said August 20?
If there's water in the lake,
Yeah.
is that what you think?
Thank you. It's going down.
Just wanted to verify that.
It is.
Yeah, we're working on it.
When do we usually meet? What time? You guys have.
It was usually 5-ish.
5:30,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
5:30.
Thank you.
So generally you'll provide the main course and then we'll all bring the potluck. Is that how it goes?
Barbecue.
Yeah, okay. Barbecue temple, I like that. Questions, thoughts, concerns on that, anybody?
If you want us to bring certain things, let us know because we don't all want to come with dessert.
Right.
Well, why not? Why not?
Start first.
I'm with you.
I'll just go through, maybe I'll make a
Yeah, yeah,
list and you
like
guys can-
salads or whatever.
Yeah.
Depends what
Appetizer.
his last name starts with.
There
That's
you
what
go.
you get.
Okay, and I.
That's not a bad, that's not a bad one. That's not a bad.
That's
It's
how
just
the
the luck of the
military
draw.
Yeah. That looks good.
Okay, so I'll have
That
to,
works.
what's your mustache?
We don't all want to bring baked beans.
So-
Yeah.
Too many baked beans. would be a bad
Yeah,
thing.
too many baked beans.
You can bring it up. Buzzy.
I don't know yet.
Starts with a Y.
No, I.
Oh,
I.
yours is a-
It's an
No,
I.
I think theirs is a Y.
Yeah, it's a,
Different families or-
well, no, it was my cousin that when he came here and he went to Ellis Island, they said, oh, or he was at DMV getting his license. Yeah, well, we can't spell that name. You need to change it to Y. So he changed it.
Oh, really? Wow.
But we did.
All right, so we'll meet on the 20th as a social gathering and then our next meeting is September 23rd. That being
One,
said.
one comment, one
Oh,
last.
yeah. Hi, Ryan. Yeah. What do you got,
Hey.
Ryan?
He's still
Um,
awake.
Yeah, I just, yeah, the presentations tonight were fantastic. So I just wanted to say thanks for, whoever put all those together. That was a lot of good information. And I'm going to recommend folks, go tune into this. This was a great meeting to get lots of good information about, all of the lovely things that we have going on in the parks and the future plans and everything. And then I just echo, there's just been tons of positive sentiments about Summerfest and the execution, and it was safe and well fed, clearly. So, just a wonderful event. Thanks to everyone for that contributed to it. Hopefully we can just keep up the positive momentum. It seems like every year it somehow gets bigger and better, and we're just really lucky to have that. So thanks for all the effort on that. And then one comment as it relates to the bagel property. You guys were chatting about whether the size, and it sounded like it was more of like a pocket park, based on the planning things. And I would just say that single parcel may be that size and might not fit into your typical, but we have the right of way out there with all of the parking, and there's lots of parking in the downtown. There's opportunities to potentially secure parking out in the QFC parking lot, or doing some more there. So I would say just keep an open mind about what we think we could do that might be bigger than just your kind of like, well, we only have an acre and a half or whatever it is. I wouldn't say that it's exactly a box that's 1.5 acres. It's like there could be some sprawling parking and other things that kind of that we could use as well. So I just say keep an open mind, and I think that we certainly want to plan for something there. And I know that the mayor and some other folks have thought about, that's maybe a potential spot for a community center or something multi-generational. And I don't know if it's big enough or not, but I would say when we are evaluating that, if that came down to, well, yeah, it probably would work if we had another, 80 parking spaces. It's like, well, there's a massive parking lot right next door. Maybe we could get, an easement or something to use that or something like that. So anyway, I would just say keep an open mind as you guys are looking into that.
Yeah, good comments. Thank you for your continued support, Councilmember Pearson.
Yep. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thank you. All right, with that, I would
I'll make a motion to.
veto. Anyone want to second
I
that?
will second that
Alan,
one.
all in favor? All right,
Hungry.
yeah, that's approval. Thank you all. Great meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very good.
great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Really.
Nice
I
job.
love the way you.
Thank you. I'm really excited you guys to get out. See y'all.